My name is Jenna and I'm the Clinical Quality Lead at Keo Care. My background is occupational therapy, but part of what I want to talk about today is the variety and the complexity and the challenges that come with that of occupational therapy. Because whilst my trade is occupational therapist, I have dabbled in pediatrics, adolescents, adults. I have worked as a PBS practitioner and more recently transitioned into the mental health space, which for me was a big jump. And it's kind of cool because OT offers that. I can do lots of different jobs with the one bachelor degree, but it does mean that my professional identity has been challenged, and I know that this is an experience that happens for a lot of OTs. So one thing that I want to share with you today is around what OT identity is and how we can get that through embedding therapy or theories into practice. We've all heard the terms evidence-based practice or evidence-informed practice, and that commonly looks like things like evidencing in reports or basing your intervention off a framework. But I personally have always found that it can be really difficult when someone then says to you, well, what is the framework that you're using, or what are the models that is guiding that practice that you're doing? And for some reason I always clammed up and found it really difficult to say I'm applying this model or this framework to my practice. And when I shared that with some of the mental health OTs, they had the same experience. We're finding now with the NDIS that we are needing to be more clear in our clinical reasoning, and we are needing to justify what we're doing and why we're doing it so much more, that it's become more and more important for us to be really confident in what we're doing and why we're doing it. And we can't do that well unless we have a really good understanding of some of the models and frameworks that are used in our practice specific to our area of support, not just riding the wave of the classic PEOP OT model, which is basically just the core OT. Not that you can't apply it, but some specified models within practice will really help define your practice, intervention, clinical reasoning, and therefore be able to communicate that more clearly to the supports within your reports and what you're actually doing within the services you are providing. Some common ones that the OT mental health team have explored at Keo Care recently has been ones like the model of human occupation, otherwise known as the MOHO, which is a really cool one because it really looks at the motivations as to why someone does the things that they need to, want to, or have to do, as well as some of the patterns that we might see with consideration of the person in their whole environment. Another one is the Cower model, which I've learned about in uni and then have recently fallen in love with again because I hadn't applied it at all between that time. And I like this one because it uses the natural metaphor of a river to depict someone's life journey from birth right through to where they're currently at and potentially the future. And it uses natural elements of what a river consists of, such as the water flow, the rocks, the driftwood, and what the banks of the river is made up onto. So it's quite practical in its application. CHIME is another framework that can be used when you're helping someone or supporting someone through their personal recovery from a severe mental illness, and it's one of those ones with a cool acronym for connectedness, hope and optimism for the future, identity, meaning in life, and empowerment. And there's little subcategories to all of those which we can assess for a person, as well as then support to increase or adapt as they need to help with their personal recovery. The model of creative ability is a cool one that I've only recently learnt about from one of our team members, because whilst you might think it's about arts and crafts, it's actually about the person's ability to be able to come up with their own ideas and enabling them to be able to be a real active part of their support network, the changes that they make for themselves, and areas of support and change that they want to facilitate in themselves. The occupational performance model is really cool because it's derived from Australia, and if you look at the image, it's like a spider web of all the different aspects and factors that can influence a person in who they are, the way that they live their life, what their role is in society, as well as their little direct environment. And it really does warrant or celebrate the fact that there are many factors that can involve or inform how a person behaves. The only reason why I know, even if you can say so much about these models and frameworks, is because the mental health OT team at KeoCare this year set a team goal of focusing on knowing and practicing with models and frameworks. And we really wanted to be specific within the mental health space. So what we were able to do is use our case conference times where we can meet as a team and share our knowledge and learning about one of the models that we're focusing on. Now, as all behaviour change happens, it took a little bit for this team to initiate this. So we all agreed, yep, this is a good idea. Let's become more confident in the frameworks and the models that we use in practice. This will be really good for us. But what happened is it's that people took a bit of time to actually go, oh yeah, I haven't chosen one yet, or oh, I haven't researched one yet. And so like all behaviour change, it took a couple of false starts. Then once we had one person go, I've actually been applying it and I've done it from assessment and have been able to do some intervention as well, it all snowballed, and team members were coming each week or each conference that we had and being able to share. And there were so many beautiful moments in that process that I was able to see the team confident in how they're explaining things and really seeing the models and frameworks work for their own development as well as their clinical reasoning. And I could tell you about 10 different moments, but there was one in particular where one of our newly senior team members were able to talk through a really complex participant, one that they were having difficulties with around engagement, around knowing how they were having an impact, around coordinating the team, many factors. And she was able to apply the MOHO model, where she didn't have a specific question or an intended outcome, but she used it just to reflect, just to be able to cover all bases and to be able to formulate her clinical reasoning and what she was doing. And it was really wonderful to see how the team came together to ask her questions within the framework, and some new information came to light. And like I said, it wasn't the intention of she was looking for direction necessarily, but she was able to know what she was doing was good, as well as have some clarity or some further questions that she could explore. And I just don't think we would have had the same outcome if we hadn't used the framework to have that discussion. So it was so great to see it in practice and to be able to see the impact of this applied learning that we've been able to do. There is so many different ways that you too could help build your OT identity, build your confidence in embedding theory into practice by doing exactly what the mental health OTs did, in the sense of just choose one, learn about it, know about it, and then try and apply it with a participant. It could be a little bit more ad hoc, in the sense of when you're in supervision, you could just use a model to chat through. It could be through problem solving. It could just be to reflect on what you're doing with the participant, or it could be used as a targeted question and looking for a particular answer, and you just choose a model that's most appropriate. But I do encourage you to be deliberate and purposeful about it. And you can do that by just setting a PD goal and then looking for PD opportunities or learning, just self-directed learning opportunities that really align with that. You could look at the OTA resources. There is so many on there that are specific to models and frameworks or apply it within the broader approach. But one thing for mental health OTs I would strongly encourage you to do is have a look at the capability framework that OTA have developed, and that can help you sort of pick out a few areas that could be your focus for you to move through just knowing to actually knowing and doing some of these models and frameworks into practice. So like I said before, there is a big difference between knowing or even being able to list different frameworks to actually being able to be confident in articulating it and to be able to apply it and explain it to other people. So I just encourage you to be purposeful about this. Don't just use terms like evidence-based practice or evidence-informed practice by referencing it in a report. Know it, learn it, apply it, reflect on it, share it, talk about it, because it's only through OTs doing these kind of things using occupational focused language that we are going to not only build your own OT identity, but have a real impact in the healthcare space.